Hello, maybe Shet, and welcome back to my channel. A few weeks ago, I promised you the story about how my husband's ex of 23 years tried it, or I should say, tried me. Keyword tried. Okay, so I guess we'll start with late May 2024. My husband and I became engaged late May 2024. And for various reasons, we held off on making a huge announcement, mainly because we had already decided that we would have our civil ceremony, which is a requirement, our civil ceremony soon, within that summer, and plan a larger formal ceremony to include my American friends and family a year later. So, as you might imagine, when you're planning an intimate gathering, you have to be strategic about how you announce these things. Number one, you want to be sure to announce in the proper order, people who are closest to you, and there are certain people you don't want to get the information secondhand. So, that being said, a month after we got engaged was the wedding of my husband's nephew. And my husband and his fiancee were like mid late 20s or so. So of course they take precedence because they're younger, and also they've been planning that wedding long before we even met. So, of course, proper protocol, we're older. Now, remember, I had spent, now, this nephew was or is the nephew of my husband's ex, and he's still very close with that family. Like I said before, the children are grown and many of them have children of their own. So now we're dealing with the third generation, okay? But after you've been with someone for over 20 years, I mean, family is family, right? So it was my husband's nephew, biologically his ex's nephew, who was getting married. So I was well aware that I would, chances are, come face to face with the ex. You know, you know that was not going to be a problem. Now, keep in mind, at this particular time, I was perimenopausal. So every day, you don't know what your body's doing. Okay. Right now, I am full blown menopause, but perimenopause was just as tricky. Now, this particular morning, the morning of the wedding, I woke up. This is the first time this ever happened. Actually, that's what it was. I went to the doctor and I asked for something to help balance my hormones. And you know how sometimes there is a curve with things like that. Sometimes it takes some time for your body to adjust. Well, my adjustment was I woke up that morning, I couldn't even get out of bed. And I don't mean I couldn't get out of bed because I felt ill. I meant I couldn't get out of bed because I was so bloated. I literally had to wiggle out of bed. Yeah. Okay. So this is how we're starting the day. But again, not about me, but remember, this is probably a good point to reiterate that there is a huge curiosity for Americans here. Okay. Particularly, particularly New York gays. I am New York gays. I am not only from New York, I'm from New York City. And as you might imagine, due to social media and the culture, they're just bombarded with these images of glamour, of culture, of power, of ambition. So they're very intrigued by me, naturally. They've been naturally because I'm an American, but a New York City American. And here I was coming to this wedding with my French Southern born country boy husband. Now, again, as I mentioned in a previous video, this leg of the family was already very well acquainted with me, or I was very well acquainted with them. I stayed in his sister in law's home for the holidays. I've been to the other sister in law's home many times for Ramadan, all kinds of different festivities. So they knew me, okay, or they were welcoming toward me. No problem there. Now, we get to the wedding, and as you might imagine, oh, So this is what happened. After I found something comfortable to wear that I looked I felt comfortable and confident wearing, we get to the ceremony, right? And we're in the car and my shoes feel really tight. Now, remember, it's a wedding, so I'm wearing some pumps, some open toe pumps. I was wearing a Spanish label open toed pumps. And I was wearing them for the first time. They were my size, but they felt awfully tight and I couldn't understand why. But remember, I knew that I was particularly bloated that day, so it didn't surprise me. We got out the car. I'm walking. I'm not very comfortable, but get there, get through the ceremony, right? After the ceremony, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, why do my shoes feel different? They don't feel as tight anymore. I looked out and my shoes have completely burst. Okay. They have completely popped open, both of them, not just one. I didn't lose a heel or anything. The entire front part of the shoe basically popped open. Okay. So, and again, this was my first time wearing them. So there you go. And I bought them at the thrift store. So they were brand new from the thrift store, my first time wearing them. So no, I could not take them back. Anywho, we get to the reception space. There's a flurry of activities, mainly because the photography took so long, because of just so many people. So I was standing there and my husband says to me, okay, that's my ex. Gives me a little nudge or whatever. And I see her over his shoulder and I didn't think anything of it. Remember, this is the beauty. I am a New Yorker. I can handle anything. Okay. So long as you behave, I will behave. And even if you don't behave, I'm still going to show you how to behave. So there was a point, so much flurry of activities. There was a point I made a line for the bathroom or wherever I was going. And she was going in the opposite direction. So we're literally, I'm heading this way, she's heading the opposite direction. You get what I'm saying? She's heading this way, I'm heading that way, whatever. And I knew that we were going to be. She waits until she gets like I would see 2 inches away from my face and does one of these flips, like does one of these, turns her back on me. And I'm like, all right, I see how you move. But you can't play the game with somebody who created the game. Okay, we are New York City women. Okay, you have no tricks that I have not seen. So you can't run with the dogs or you can't run with the dogs and then want to piss like a pup, as they say. So anywho, we had that exchange. Now remember, no one knows at this point that my husband and I are engaged. Not that it would have mattered anyway. But one thing that I found interesting, because this is just the first part of the story, okay? This is just the first part of the story. I'm going to save the rest for another time because it gets a little later. But I remember some friends of mine who are also expats who made it a point of explaining to me that French women hold grudges like nobody else. And I thought to myself, isn't that the case with most women? Yes, remember, I'm a woman too, so I can say this. I thought to myself, I don't see how that's much different. But of course, I have friends who told me, no, 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 it's very different. So I leave that there to say this was my first non interaction with her. Now, fortunately, I didn't see her for the rest of the ceremony. Well, not the ceremony was over. I did not see her for the rest of the reception because evidently she was not invited to the formal reception, the formal sit down reception. She was only invited to partake in the aperitif and the photography. Don't know why, don't care, not none of my business, as she is none of my business. So, yeah. And it's interesting to note that, remember, she did not know we were engaged. So she's thinking I'm just passing through. Again, not that it's any of her business, but there is a difference when you are the girlfriend that goes into being the wife, particularly in a family where there are already so many layers and people have family that is so layered long before you came into the picture. So that's just another part of what I'm navigating. And I share this part of the story because it gives more depth to what's to come. whatever. You know what? Let me just go into what happened. Okay. So that was the first non interaction. Fast forward to a year later. No, I'll save that. Till next time. A tutalea. Oh, comment below. Have you ever had a time when you felt you had to hold back as not to upstage anyone? A tutalea.